Hey, guys. I mean, that was lame. Can we try it again? Hi, guys. Oh, you guys. Now, everybody yell 3 things you love about me. Ready? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Hey, we are so glad you're here. I just want to do a little intro of my sweet friend Ginger. And if you haven't been here before, we're so glad you're here. And if you have, we're really glad you're here too. And this year, Ginger is talking about various different world religions, which I just absolutely love because personally, I think we are just called to love everybody with wide open arms and deep hearts. So I love that in this learning, we can learn to be more empathetic, more compassionate, more knowledgeable, so we know what questions to ask and how to lean in to people that may think or believe a little differently than we do. So thanks for being here. And I'm just going to say a little prayer for my friend, and then we will get started. Hey, also, before I pray, we are meeting in January this year. It kind of always depends if it's like January 2nd. It's hard to do that, but it's January 7th will be our first one of 2026. All right? And I'm going to pray, and then I'll let the boss take over. All right. Dear God, thank you just for this time. Thank you for this group of wholehearted souls who just want to understand how to love people better. So we pray, God, that this morning, would you just, for each of us individually and personally, point out the things that you want us to hear. If we can each take one thing away, God, and be more loving, more like Jesus, more of what you want for us and for everybody else. We just ask for that today and always. And in your name we say amen. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for getting out on a cold, snowy morning. Some snow residual. I want to just context you if you're coming for the first time. We're working through 9 religions this year in our sessions together, and I'm taking them in chronological order of kind of the time they came on the map. Either the person that wrote the scripture when they lived, or when it became kind of an organized faith. So we've been through North American spirituality, Hinduism, Judaism, and now we're moving into Taoism today. So it's spelled with a T or a D. It's pronounced with a D. So you'll see it both ways. But Taoism originated about 2,500 years ago. So just get your sweet little brains around that. Right? We're talking long ago. And you can kind of map it to where Christianity falls, 0 to 70s. And we'll continue through those religions next year in 2026. Taoism is a wisdom teaching. It's a way of living more than kind of an organized religion. It's really a philosophy. And I'll get into that a little bit longer, but have you guys heard this quote before? Yeah, you're going to recognize some quotes from Taoism that we kind of have taken on as sage wisdom, but this comes from chapter 64 of the Tao Te Ching. So there's 2 major sources in the origins of Taoism. Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao Te Ching, and Zhuangzi, who kind of wrote commentary on this and more, his own version. But the real, to use a Western word of scripture, for Taoism would be this Tao Te Ching. This translation by Stephen Mitchell, from Chinese into English, is the one that you will see posted the most, used the most. His language is beautiful. And Cheryl told me this morning that Stephen Mitchell is married to Byron Katie, who is one of my favorite teachers on acceptance. And Byron Katie, if you've heard me speak before on her, she has the inquiry method of, is it true? Do I know for sure it's true? How do I feel when I think that thought? How do I feel if I never thought that thought? Right? That's kind of the root of Byron Katie's work. So I love that they are married. That makes so much sense to me now, Cheryl. Thank you for sharing that with me. But Stephen is a renowned translator, and this version of his is also available on Audible. And I've been listening to it on repeat. There's only 81 chapters in the Tao Te Ching, and you can see how short they are, right? So 81 chapters is just these kind of small poems, if you will, on wisdom. But it is on Audible, and it's lovely to listen to. I have found the Tao Te Ching to be a calming device in my life. It gives you perspective. It brings you back into what's important in a really simple way. So I'm excited to share some of those things with you today. I want to context what was happening in China at the time, just because I think all of these religions, it's important to go back to their cultural origins and historical origins, because sometimes we take it as 2025 wisdom, but it's really important to know what the writer was writing about at the time. So in China at the time, there were 7 major competing kingdoms. Things like the Han Dynasty, you know, as I was listening to some of the research, you could recognize some of these old stories. I am not familiar with Asia very well. Has anyone traveled to China? Yeah. Okay. No, we're all in it together. Okay. Perfect. So, there were lots of battles over borders. Tale as old as time, right? Army taxes were really, really high. People were living in a lot of poverty. There was a lot of complicated forced labor to support the armies and all of these battles. So Lao Tzu writes a lot about leadership, government leadership, military leadership. And when I understood the context, then I understood all of these kind of war wisdom type teachings. Confucianism, right? We all kind of know Confucius. We might see his quotes on Instagram every once in a while. He was alive at the time, too. So these were kind of great wisdom teachers in Asia at the time. He wrote The Art of War, a famous book on kind of war theory, came out about that time. But there was a lot of political corruption. And the Tao Te Ching is a call back to balance and harmony. We're going to talk about yin and yang later, so balance and harmony. That's where all of this comes from. Feng Shui, we're going to talk about today. So all of these teachings we have from Asian continents on peace, harmony, balance originate back to, or point back to Taoism. There is a philosophical Taoism and a religious Taoism. What we're going to talk today about is more the philosophical, the way of living. The religious Taoism is a super small percentage of people. China is let me get this right, state-endorsed atheism is what is practiced. No God, no religion in China. So only about 10% of people in China have any religious practice, belief, or affiliation, and many times not public. Christianity is kind of underground. It's on the rise. I went to seminary almost 10 years ago, and there was a student who came from China to St. Paul School of Theology to take Christianity back, but he would talk often how his life was at stake when he would go back to China. China is a country wanting to control things. The internet access is limited. So all of this kind of spread of religion has to happen in home churches or a little bit more underground. So you see Taoism practiced in China, about 173 million people estimated, but the Pew Research Group holds that very loosely because people don't report. Taiwan, about 33% of Taiwan practices Taoism, and then Singapore and Malaysia would be the other places, just to kind of context what we're talking about here. But 90% of the Pew Research data is 90% of people that live in China have no religion or religious affiliation and are likely atheist. So it's just interesting. When we're in discussions with other countries, I think these kinds of things are just interesting to keep in mind. So we're going to focus on the philosophical pieces. The religious piece of Taoism would be temples and rituals and alchemy and Chinese medicine, and that's all super, super interesting, but in the interest of an hour, I'm going to keep it on the way to live kind of stuff. So martial arts like Tai Chi and Qigong, those come from Taoist roots. Those are practices to slow us down, learn body control, calm our nervous system, get in flow with nature and natural beings. That's the point of all those practices, and that's the foundation of the Tao Te Ching. The goal of Taoism, if you had to sum it up, would be a search for harmony and peace in your life would make you seek the Tao, or make you want to read the Tao Te Ching. And so I think in 2025, this stuff is so timeless because humans never stop searching for harmony and balance. And this is a beautiful tool to offer us that. So life lessons on being human. I'm going to do life, God, and compassion lessons from Taoism. And we do that for each religion we go through this year. So on the being human part, the Tao, the word Tao, translates into the way. What I find so interesting in studying all of these religions, all of this long, long, long timeline of thousands of years, no communication between countries, but all of our spiritual greats are saying the same thing, right? So we know Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the light. So, and it's 500 years after Lao Tzu said, this is the way. So just hold all of that so beautifully and compassionately, and remember that these are the truths. It's not one person's truth or one religion's truth. These are universal truths, so that peace, love, compassion, that is the way. That is the way for all of us. So I think that's a very important foundational thing to understand about Taoism. So the way means this underlying reality of the universe, the way things naturally move and unfold, the cycles of nature, the waves of our emotions, the good things that happen to us, the bad things that happen to us. It's more of, this is all part of being human. This is a natural path. Our job is to align with love and compassion. That is the way. So if we are living in alignment with love and compassion, we are practicing the way. And that would bring ultimate world peace if we would all do that. So the Tao is sort of anti-ego. There's a lot of stuff about your desires are creating your suffering. Your need to be right is creating your suffering. You're fighting it or forcing what you want instead of getting in the flow with what's naturally coming to you. Okay, that's the spirit of the Tao. There's a trust of invisible currents. And I loved this so much because I've just been thinking about it as I was preparing for today of like, if I could just trust there's an invisible current taking us all through life, instead of thinking I have to hustle and work for it and create it and fight it, sometimes like swim upstream. If I could just get with the current, it just feels like flow and peace. So those are kind of the foundations of the teaching of the Tao. So the Tao opens with this line. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. Right? The name that can be named is not the eternal name. So the unnameable is the eternally real. So right out of the gate, it has a spirit of stop trying to name it, label it, figure it all out. It's beyond words. Just live it, ease into it, relax, it's all going to be okay. And that, I think, is just so foundationally with the teaching. So whatever we say about the Tao, we're not getting it right, because it's beyond our words. And I think this is what every religion we are studying this year comes back to, is a human trying to put meaning on something and figure it all out. And so then we all have our theories about how God works and who's pushing buttons and flipping switches, and we all interpret a little bit differently. But it's just our longing to have some answers. And if we could stop seeking all the answers and just live, it's so liberating. It's so peace-giving. But the Tao also says this is our human brain, so as long as we're human, we're going to tend to fight it. We have to practice not fighting it. So the idea is to move with the Tao. Just align with the Tao, move with the Tao, and that would just be this current under all things, this current of love. So there's no dogmatic rules, there's no commandments, there's no things you must do to get into heaven or else you go to hell. It's really not rigid like that. It is more autonomous. You're either in check with it or you're not, and when you're not in check with the Tao, things aren't going to go well for you. But it's not like a punishment, or it's not you didn't have enough faith. It's a very self-responsible faith instead of a superior being making things happen to us or not making things happen to us, which as I've studied it, is a very, it's really peaceful. There might be a little angst in our brains of like, but I need to know what to do, and I need guardrails. But if you can overcome that egoic part a little bit and just be like, it's all okay, then it really is peace-giving. So this is where breath work, energy work, yoga poses, Tai Chi, all of that stuff help our body calm down. That's really the root of a lot of those practices. It's not about worshiping anything. You know, you're not worshiping or bowing down to or trying to earn favor with a being. It's really, we're all here in the flow. We all are in the same Tao together. Let's just ease into it. Nature is a huge teacher in Taoism. All the lessons we need to know are found in nature. So we don't need a human teaching us. We need to go out in nature. And that's where the Tao will give us wisdom. And how many of us feel more peaceful in nature and more connected to our God in nature? It's that phenomenon. So a couple questions just to make this relevant for us today might be something like, when you're stressed, when you're upset about something, how could I respond to this with less force, less fight, and more alignment with flow? How could I respond to this with less fight, less force, less wanting what I want, and instead get in this flow of peace and love? And then another prompt might be, what is the most natural, honest, simple thing I can do right now? Most natural, honest, simple thing I could do right now. That's my next step. That would be the practice, really, of living by the Tao. So I loved this. One of the commentators or teachers of the Tao I found is, instead of you're broken and must fix it or become something else, embrace you already belong to the way. Learn to move with it. Yeah. So if we, as Christians, those of us that grew up in Christianity, you might have grown up in a faith that was, you are full of sin, and you have to live your whole life trying to fight that. You are broken, and you should be seeking reconciliation and salvation. And this would be the opposite of that. You're already in it. You're already love and peace. You just forget. So come back to it. That's all. Yeah. Yeah. The next one, so that's kind of the Tao. Wei Wu Wei. These are fun words. I had to do Google pronounce a lot. Wei Wu Wei translates into action, no action. And this is that idea of flow, that you actually take action when you don't take action. And I had to read a lot on this to get my head around it, because this is the opposite of me. I tend to force and hustle and try to make things happen. So I had to revisit this a lot. But where I finally landed on it is it's effortless. It should be effortless. And anytime I start trying to force it or make it happen, I'm fighting actually again. I'm resisting what's coming to me. I'm actually pushing it away. So some of you, if we've met one-on-one before, I might have used this analogy of like, if I'm swimming in the lake and I want that raft over there, and I'm swimming towards the raft, my swimming to it is actually pushing it away, right? If I float, it's likely that raft is going to drift to me. So that is such an image of the Tao. Yeah, that one helps me come back to it. The other illustrations I found in teachers that were teaching this is like a dancer. When you're watching a ballet or a dancer, right? They're in flow. They make it look easy. It's so natural. Then when we try to go dance, it's like rigid and awful, and right? Because we're beginners, or we're learning, or we're fighting it, or we're trying to get it right. So if you're trying to get it right, you're not allowing it, and you're not in that flow of it. A swimmer, one teacher used a swimmer, of like a swimmer is, a beautiful swimmer barely stirs the water and just glides through it, right? That's flow. An artist that makes it look so easy. I like painting as a hobby, and so I follow all these Instagram artists, and I will watch them, and I'll then go to my canvas, and I can never create what they made look so easy, right? But that is me needing to practice, to release perfection, to not want it to look like theirs, to let it look like whatever's flowing out of me, to accept that. Right? Those are illustrations that kind of help us learn this way of being. So it's not being lazy or passivity. Sometimes it gets couched as that, or like doing nothing or not standing up for yourself. It's not that. It's more like a rising above it, right? Be wiser than that. Be effortless in that. So here's just some examples. I was trying to think through our things. So like a conversation with somebody. So not way woo way would be like, I want to fix it, or I'll tell you what I've experienced, or I'm going to interject my opinion on what you should do. Way woo way would be, I'm just going to listen to you. I'm going to wait for the prompt or the nudge to say the next loving thing. I'm out of my heart or head and I'm into my heart. This is easier said than done. So I'm going to let the right words come to me naturally instead of what should I say? I need to say something, right? I can sit here quietly in presence with this person. That would be way woo way. So like in creativity or your work, grinding from a place of ego. So I think about this with my like Tuesday writing. I have had to really release, are people going to like it? Because it's a one-way email, and I don't know if they like it or not. I don't get heads nodding or energy. So for me to be way woo way with writing is what's coming up in me right now. God, what would you want people to hear or know this week? And yeah, that feels right. That's what I'll write. And I'll put it out there, and if no one opens it, that's okay. Right? Because it did something for inside me. So that would be like way woo way. So if you have an art or a hobby, the opposite of that would be like, I have to finish this chapter now. I have to meet this deadline. I have to get the right sentence. I have to do what people like and will open and read and tell me is great. Right? That's not way woo way. So leadership, parenting, if I want to constantly control you and shape you and form you into the child I want you to be, not way woo way, right? Or micromanaging or lots of rules or pressure or correction, not way woo way. Way woo way would be create a strong, safe container for them to be free to be themselves. So it's not without guardrails or boundaries, but it's containers with freedom to flow and allow, and then me checking in with, oh, I was trying to control them right there. So part of the teaching on parenting from the Tao that I found was allowing everyone to express themselves as they're naturally wired to be. This is hard when your child might be very different than you, right? Or you might think, well, if you're this creative genius, you're a starving artist and you're never going to have a life for yourself and you're going to live in my basement the rest of your life. Yes, Stephanie.
We were just
Or Kim, sorry.
in a discussion about Bonhoeffer
Yeah.
and his 3 points, and this sort of flows with his idea of intentional listening. Instead of when we're listening to someone talk about something, particularly that we may not agree with, we're not supposed to be formulating our own ideas to respond. but
Exactly.
just to take it in.
I love that. I'll repeat what Kim said in case you couldn't hear it. When someone's talking to you, not thinking about how am I going to respond, but instead taking in what they are saying. That's a perfect example of way, wu, wei. Yeah, beautiful. There's a lot of gardening and sculpting and art references in Taoism. Here's one. Instead of forcing this stone into the shape I want, I will go out in nature and find a stone that the sun and the water shaped into the shape I want, right? So, or it wouldn't even be the I want, probably. True Taoism would be like, which stone feels most natural to use here? Yeah. So really, all suffering, we'll talk about this in Buddhism too when we get to it, but all suffering comes from us living in fear and the need for control. There you go, guys. It's so easy, right? Oh, did I do something?
No, I think it died, or I fell asleep.
Do you want me to hit the laptop? Brooke's on it. Okay. All right. So let's see. Oh, one thing on mental health with the Tao that I thought was interesting is flexibility leads to mental health. Rigidity leads to mental unhealth. Right? So anytime it has to be this way or I get rigid. I mean, we know things that people suffer from, like OCD, very rigid, right? I have to go through all my checks. That what we would want to do is flexibility, live in doubt. I don't know if the oven's off, but I'm going to try to live in doubt that the oven is off, right? That would be kind of this rigidity versus flexibility. Yeah, Jenny?
Can you repeat all suffering something?
Yes, comes from fear, control, overthinking. We're going against the flow. Yeah. So yin and yang, we're familiar with this term, right? This is that black and white swirl. I hadn't really taken a deep dive into it before, but it's really interesting. So it's all about balance. The yin, so the black color, represents stillness, inward, night, nurturing, soft, receptive. Like black absorbs color, right? It's kind of interesting. Yang, the white, more active, expansive, outer, daylight, doing, bright. And then you'll notice the dot in each one represents the seed planted of the other. So we're always keeping everything in balance. So we always need a balance of yin and yang. And yin and yang are always present within one another. Neither is good or bad. It's managing them. So just like night is yin and yang is day, day and night is not one better than the other. It's a natural flow, right? It's how things flow. Rest isn't less valuable than action. If I have lots of action, which is yang, I need yin. And if I am resting a little too much yin, I need some yang. And so life is always about tuning into what's going on within me, my environment, my people, my relationships, and where do I need an adjustment. So yin and yang is balance. So if you're feeling, here's some applications. So like for your body, if your body is feeling hyper, overheated, stressed, I can't sleep, I'm always on, I'm always performing, that's too much yang. So add some yin, right, which would be quiet, cooling, stillness. If I have too much yin, which I'm sluggish, cold, no ambition, withdrawn, isolated, I need to add some yang, which would be gentle movement, warmth, engagement with other people. So it's this constant, am I in harmony? Because if I'm in harmony and we're all practicing that, then the world is in harmony. So Taoist teacher said this: if you're always pushing, which is yang, learn to yield so you don't burn out or create unnecessary conflict. If you're always retreating, which is yin, cultivate some yang so you can protect boundaries and take action when you need it. Right? If we get too much rooted in one, then we're not able to do the other. Yeah. This has been very thought-provoking during the holiday season. So it's interesting because as I was reading some teachers on yin and yang, it's not a task to make sure I'm in balance or like a doing. It's more of an allowing and noticing, or relaxing back and noticing, right? So my brain went to, oh my gosh, I've got to assess every area of my life, and am I yang or yang, and where needs to go where, and I need a spreadsheet to figure this all out. Okay, that's the opposite. So yin and yang would be, what am I feeling? What do I need? Yeah, that's it. Okay, so it's a lot more of listening to intuition. They don't use the word intuition, but it would be that feeling of what's going on inside me and what do I need to adjust. Okay, Feng Shui. Anyone familiar with Feng Shui? Yeah, super fun. I think there could be like a whole class on this. I mean, somebody else could teach it because I was really interested in it. The idea of Feng Shui is the way your environments feel and flow. This comes from Taoism. This is a Taoist teaching, which is super cool because we throw around these modern things on Instagram and we don't even realize its origins sometimes. So unblocking would be kind of the theme in our homes. I have pages on this, so I'm going to give you the highlights. So unblocking light. Does light flow easily through here? Unblocking movement. Can the humans easily move through this room, or are there obstacles in their way? Does it function the way this room should function? So a bedroom should function for sleep and calm and relaxation. But if I have clothes piled up and whatever is going on in there, then that's not conducive to what that room is intended to do. So Feng Shui is, what is this room intended to do? Is this room intended to be a busy area of the home? Okay, then does it work for that? Does it function well? Is this area to be a calm area of the home? And even a corner of your home, right? Where is the calm place in your room? Where do you go to find calm and make sure that that's created for you? The energy in a room, the way it flows. So a lot of cool things like open windows more often, let air flow through, let natural light in, add living things, plants. This says healthy ones, not dying ones in the corner. This was the teacher on this, a modern teacher. Fresh flowers, an aquarium, a pet. An aquarium achieves water, which the 5 elements should be represented in every room, which is wood, represents growth and creativity, so things like bookshelves or wooden furniture. Also trees or plants that have a trunk. Fire, passion and visibility, so a candle. Lighting creates fire. Warm color, art that pops would be a dose of fire. Passion, inspiration. The earth, so stability and grounding, so ceramics, clay, stones, earthy colors. Metal brings clarity and focus, so metal picture frames. Tools in your kitchen that are on display that are metal. And then water, so flow, reminding you of flow and depth. So actual water, like an interior fountain or an aquarium, or mirrors that kind of reflect movement can remind us of water. Art of water, pictures of water, or photography of water. So the 5 elements should be represented in every space to have true harmony. It's beautiful. I know it's easier said than done, but it's a great intention. So when you walk in a room, if you want to practice Feng Shui, you might ask, what's missing here and what's overdone? I thought that was a really simple teaching, right? Or overcluttered might be more art. So if a room feels chaotic, scattered, or if a room feels dead or stuck. So if a room feels dead or stuck, bring in life, plants, water. If a room feels chaotic or scattered, calm it down, books, earth, metal, clay pots. It's just so interesting. We could go on and on. So questions like, do I naturally want to be in this room? Or am I repelled by this room? There's a few in my house right now that I don't want to look at. So do I naturally feel pulled into this room? Does this room match the intention I set? Is it easy to rest here? Your home should be a place of rest. Yeah. So call the organizers. Pam can help you with your closet. Okay, so any questions before I go on to the God teachings? Yeah, Patty.
I'm trying to get my head wrapped around how this is a religion.
Yeah, okay, let's go there. Yeah, that's where I'm going. Perfect. So it's more recent that it's a religion. The original teachings were how to live. Similar to Jesus. Jesus was teaching us Judaism and how to live, not necessarily creating a religion, right? So Taoism is the same way. The humans create the religions. The spiritual greats have the wisdom, and then we screw it up. If they were all sitting here, I would love to know what they think of how we've taken their teachings. But okay, so Taoism doesn't have a deity. So there is not a supreme being. It does refer to the creator of all. Tao came before God, the gods that we have created in our various religions. Tao predates that. But it does use creator language. Our words could never capture it. So, we're trying to figure this stuff out, and we probably need to release it. One of the teachings I found really interesting is there is not a person with a will or a command or an expectation of you. So I think about how, as Christians, we pray, thine will or my will. Well, I realized, that's starting a fight or a little bit of tension, right? Am I getting it right? Am I living according to your will? What if I could just get in a natural state and it's not this battle of the wills? So, yeah. That's an interesting one. Not a lawgiver or a judge, no rules to follow. Are you in alignment with the Tao or not? And you'll know that by the way your life is going. But we always want to blame somebody else for that, right? So it is immanent, which means, we know this word from Christianity, it is with us. The Tao is always right here. It's not some being far away. So we say in Christianity, God is both transcendent, far away, and immanent. In Taoism, it's all right here. It's all right here. And every minute, I choose whether I go back to it or not. Every minute is a new start. And it's really just adjustments. It's not, I got it wrong, and I have mortal sin, and I'm going to be punished forever. So it's just a very different thing than a lot of us have been taught. Instead of believing in God, it's aligning with the Tao. So believing in God creates a mental exercise. I noticed as I was working through these kinds of teachings, like, do I believe? What do I believe? Which parts do I believe? I went right into a mental exercise when I think about believing. If I think about aligning with the Tao, it feels more heart and soul, like a check-in. Yeah, what's coming up? I'm noticing reactions on this. What are you thinking? Yeah.
No ego.
No ego. If you take one thing away today, that's what the Tao would hope us to get. No ego. Ego gets us in trouble. And I think this is why when we die and our body is done and our ego is done, we go to bliss. Near-death experiences, people tell us they were in a state of bliss because their ego was quiet. Okay? So I think a lot of our suffering goes back to egoic. And this 81 chapters comes back to ego is the problem. What I want and me trying to get it or be right or win. Winning, there's a lot of winning. What? No hierarchy, not at all. Nope, exactly.
And that is really hard, isn't it?
It's very hard. There are some hard teachings that I'm still really trying to get my head around in here about if you don't lead people, they will do the right thing. If you don't have rules, like one of them is, if you don't have enterprise and profit, no one would steal. I mean, it's really like,
Part of that
yeah,
is not that if one is in alignment, there may be natural leaders
exactly.
versus power.
Power and greed, right, exactly. You got it. Cheryl said there would be natural leaders emerge, and we would allow them because they are a gifted leader. Instead of, wait, I want to do that job, I'm going to do everything I can to get it. And keep it, exactly. Natural consequences. You got it. Perfect, Wendy. Natural consequences instead of a consequence from God or another person. Exactly. Yeah. And this is, so the Tao Te Ching teaches meditation, or is a encourager of meditation. The outcome of meditation is that when I get quiet, I will realize these things, right? But when I'm hustling, I'm in my ego and I'm not slowing down enough to get quiet. So that's the benefit of meditation, is you have the wisdom in you, the Tao says. You just have to get quiet to listen to it. But you're out there hustling, trying to get everything you want, and you're missing the point and creating a lot of chaos. Yeah, Patty.
I was just thinking, I'm fortunate that I live by myself,
Oh,
but I do worry about those who do not.
right.
Because I can shove everyone out of my presence.
Yes.
And answer the phone and have time to listen.
Yes.
And I do feel like I hear, one way or another,
Yep.
something because I am not being stirred up.
Exactly. That's right. I think there's a ton of truth to that. And so if you are being stirred up right now in this chapter of life, seek quiet and solitude and silence. Yeah, perfect, Patty. Yeah, Kim.
Isn't there a Tao book, a Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah,
Tao
there
book?
is.
Yeah, so I
The-
don't understand that's what it was about.
The Tao according to Winnie the Pooh or something like that. Yes. Yeah.
Which would be nature.
Yes, which would be nature. Exactly.
I have that book.
You have that book. Is it good? Yes. The Tao.
It's got a whole bunch of sayings in it.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Yes, that's a great on-ramp for Taoism. We'll stick with that one. Here's a teacher. So if you are asking, what does God want me to do or fix or get right or correct? Instead, the question would be, how is life, the Tao, moving right now in me and around me? How can I cooperate with it instead of fighting it? There's all your answers. Right? So how is it moving in me and around me right now? What could I do to cooperate with it instead of fight it?
That goes to your Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yesterday in the me and I'm with it.
Sadness is with me.
It's not me, it's with I'm with it.
Exactly.
That was really perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I needed that. So if you don't get my Tuesday emails, come up after and I'll get you on the list. But my kids went back after Thanksgiving to New York City and Manhattan, Kansas, and I was really mopey all day Sunday and very sad. And Judy says it doesn't end. It's not ever going to go away, but which is really good to remember. But I tried this practice of sadness is with me today. Because I was just drowning in it, like life is over and I don't know what to do and they're never going to talk to me again. And so, wait, no. You just have sadness with you today. That's all. And it felt such a shift in it that it led to writing about it. And Wendy had taught me that the phrase peace is with you. When you can't say I am peaceful because that doesn't feel true, peace is with me. Right? Love is with me. So beautiful. Okay, let's get to compassion. So there are one of the main teachings, and this is in the Tao Te Ching, that there are 3 treasures. And this is in Stephen Mitchell's translation. You'll see these 3 words interchanged in different orders, which of course for like those of us that want, like, well, what was the original? What was the real? Like my brain does. I was like, oh, Ginger, this is beautiful because they're all 3 equal. It doesn't need to be first, second, third, right? So just right there, way, woo, way, Ginger, way, woo, way. Stop fighting it. Okay, so I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, humility and compassion. And Stephen Mitchell uses the word patience. They're interchanged with humility. So simplicity is often translated as frugality, moderation, simple living, simple decisions. Okay? So the Chinese word for that. And then humility is understood as not putting myself first. I don't have to win. I don't have to be right. I don't have to be the leader. That's how we're using the word humility here. So the compassion teachings are that, and I love this. So in war, it is compassion that makes you truly brave, not battle. Right? So the brave ones are those that aid the suffering or stop the fighting or look in the eyes of the other warrior and lead with compassion. That's the brave thing to do. So it's flipping in a wartime China. Right? It's really flipping the script on how humans are battling with each other. This was interesting. Courage can become destructive without compassion. So, we love in the Western culture to say, she's so courageous and brave, and she went right in there. And that can be destructive if you're not doing it with compassion. So I liked that little twist on courage. Compassion is a soft strength. Women are revered in Taoism. There is no gender in the Chinese language as far as like he and she, like pronouns, or like in French where we have le and la, for words like a feminine or a masculine. There's no gender. So you will see in the Tao Te Ching, male and female as master of the Tao, both are, women and men are equally in the Tao and equal to teach the Tao, speak to the Tao, practice the Tao. So there's a lot less kind of gender bias. Whereas I was thinking about like our scriptures in Christianity, the word man is often used. We know that means all humans, but for those who read it literally can use that against women. And women are called out to be submissive and be quiet and all. So you would never find anything like that in the Tao. And so with that, compassion is often compared to a mother's care. So how do we get compassion right? You nurture. You care for. You put them first. You love them. Tender, nurturing love. Let's see. Okay, so then the compassion flows naturally if we all understand we are part of the Tao together. We are all in this flow at the same time. So then it's easy to be compassionate with you because I'm not trying to beat you or take something away from you. We are equally interconnected in this beautiful flow, this beautiful opportunity to be human and experience life. It's not about me getting it all and taking it away from you. So that's the sense of compassion that the Tao teaches. And caring for others is aligned with how we naturally are. So this is back to when we in Christianity have debates over original sin. Are we born, sinful and we have to overcome it? And did Eve ruin it all for us? And all that gross stuff. The idea is your natural being is compassionate. You are pure love and compassion at birth, and you always will be. You just have to keep coming back and reminding yourself of that, and every other human is too. That we're all naturally good. Yeah, so just start that with your fundamental belief and see what happens, right? If we're all naturally good, what's that like? Okay, and then this last point on compassion. These are other definitions of compassion, and I really found Taoism had a lot on compassion to offer us being the whole globe. So compassion is also not interfering if interfering creates chaos for that person. So I thought about that with our teenagers, our elderly parents, whatever. If I keep interfering, I'm stressing them out and creating chaos. And then I thought of our hospice model with this, of how hospice stops interfering and lets the person be at peace. But if we didn't have hospice, we'd keep rushing them to the ER and hooking them up to stuff and stressing them out. And, so I try to give applications so my brain can get around it. So not interfering, because interfering creates chaos. Seeing multiple perspectives instead of needing to be right. So we talk about that with could I get curious instead of need to be right? Could I explore what they're thinking? Could I listen, actively listen instead of thinking what I'm going to say? And then developing inner peace. If we're all working on inner peace, we will have a nonviolent society. And even to those who hurt us, we will take a path of nonviolence if we are truly practicing living with the Tao, meditation, moving our bodies, spending time in nature. And one of the things I liked about Taoism is it teaches us how to do that. Buddhism teaches nonviolence, and it does teach the same kinds of things. Buddhism is very tied to Taoism, too. But I really felt in Taoism there was a lot of how do I do it. I know what to do. I know what I should do. Taoism offers how in the Tao Te Ching. So then live simply so your needs don't trample upon others. Yeah, we might skip that one at Christmas time. But yeah, and this is hard with women because I think we're taught to abandon our needs a lot. So I just introduced that to you of this doesn't mean don't have a need. This means inquire, is my need trampling somebody else? Okay, then I may need to adjust. I'm probably out of flow. If I'm trampling somebody else, I'm out of flow. Okay, yeah. Then, okay, these are a couple pieces just to take with you. And actually, let me read you a little bit. Yep, oh good, we're on time. I'll just give you a taste of the words of the Tao. So the Tao is like a well, used but never used up. It's like the eternal void, filled with infinite possibilities. It is hidden, but always present. I don't know who gave birth to it. It's older than God. And this is Lao Tzu writing. And Lao Tzu was asked, before he left a village, a young man said, will you write down everything you know? And that's the Tao Te Ching. So it's his wisdom to this young man originally. The Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. The master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners. The Tao is like a bellow. It is empty yet infinitely capable. The more you use it, the more it produces. The more you talk of it, the less you understand. Hold on to the center. The Tao is called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds. It is always present within you. You can use it in any way you want. The Tao is infinite, eternal. Why is it eternal? It was never born, thus it can never die. Why is it infinite? It has no desires for itself, thus it is present for all beings. The master stays behind, that is why she is ahead. She is detached from all things, that is why she is one with them. Because she has let go of herself, she is perfectly fulfilled. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus, it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep it simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you are content to simply be yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you. Couple others. Care about people's approval, and you will be their prisoner. Yeah. Here's, can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child's? Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? Can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things? Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting with no expectations, leading and not trying to control. This is the supreme virtue. Yeah. And then these are just beautiful ones that you'll see used often. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength, but mastering yourself is true power. The Tao never does anything, yet through it all things are done. If powerful men and women could center themselves in it, the whole world would be transformed by itself and its natural rhythms. People would be content with their simple everyday lives in harmony and free of desire. Where there is no desire, all things are at peace. Okay, what questions do you have? Yeah, Patty.
Do followers of Tao have a gathering?
Yeah, it's interesting. Somewhat. And there is a Sarah McKee who works here at Village Presbyterian. Her son is a friend of mine, Harper. He's studying in China right now. He goes to the University of South Carolina. So I texted him in China, and I said, I'm speaking on Taoism. What has been your experience with it? So what he said is what I've seen, many around me are Christian. My local friends here are practicing Christianity. There's a large Buddhist community with many shrines. I haven't interacted with anyone practicing yet. Many religions here are polytheistic, which are most Eastern religions, which of course is much different from the West. From a mindset perspective, Asia as a whole is more collectivist, which I think translates in their religious perspectives and beliefs. Collectivist meaning we're all good for all. Some interesting thing I have seen not entirely related to Taoism is when I was in Taiwan, there's a shrine to the city for the city god. So a lot of shrines and temples are city, country, kind of neighborhood gods. That's the polytheistic. So it's more cultural than religious. Let's see. A deity of the city that people prayed and made offering to for good harvests and protection of their city. Let's see. The Western sentiment of God is in each one of us is more individualistic. Here it's more collective. God is among all of us. Not that either idea is better. I just think it's interesting how they reflect the culture they represent. He's such a cool kid. He's a sophomore spending 6 months in Taiwan and 6 months in China, speaking only Mandarin to study international business. So yeah, that gave me a feel for, yes, there are gatherings, there are shrines and temples. Most of it is not worship like we would go to feel God stir within us. It is more protection of our city, protection of our harvest, as he said, asking for things. So it's not really an organized religion like we think of it. More a way of life, way of living.
I just wondered if they had, groups like women do. We call them Bible studies.
Yeah.
You know that it's
Yeah.
more than just.
There probably is, yeah, practicing the Tao Te Ching, trying to understand it. Yeah, I bet so. That makes sense. What else? Yeah, Kim.
Is it still, hold on.
Okay, Brooke's going to bring the mic.
Is it still primarily focused in China, or has it spread? Because I had an interesting conversation with a gentleman from Burma at the airport. And I got the sense when he was talking about his spirituality that it may have been Taoism.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's a diaspora, the spread of. I first saw Taoism because some of the great spiritual people I was reading were quoting the Tao. And I was like, what is this? And then this book was in like the free bin at my seminary. And I picked it up and I opened it and I was like, this is amazing. What is this? And then my friend from China saw my book and he was like, are you reading that? And that led to this beautiful discussion. So I think it is the foundations of it are in a lot of our hearts and minds. And we don't have to practice it to be influenced by it. I do think it's very prevalent. If you look at people's favorite books ever, right, or books that impacted my life or changed my life, the Tao Te Ching is often on that list for people. And it is the most translated spiritual text in the world. Yeah, yep. Yep, most translated spiritual text in the world, more published copies of the Tao Te Ching than anything else. And I think it's because it's wisdom we long for. It's calling us back to this natural state. We can't figure out what's wrong with us, so we want to read a book. But really, you had it all along, right? Yeah. Yeah, Pam. You want the mic? Let me get the mic.
I got you.
I see lots of parallels with Native American
Yes.
tradition of
Yes.
nature, going with the flow,
Yeah.
respecting nature, respecting one another,
Yeah.
not creating chaos. That's what I was thinking automatically.
Perfect. Perfect. And Carmen was thinking the same thing. I think that's what's so fun about this journey we're all on this year is that it all comes back to these fundamental, simple truths, right? Of nature and love and compassion and acceptance, community, interconnectedness, unity. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I find it helping me to refine my Christian belief system, to carve out and let go of things that don't fit this love and compassion.
Yeah.
And you get to that basic and you keep that basic, and all the rest of it looks like rules.
Exactly. You got it.
And as you were speaking, one thought that came to me is the word should would not be a part of
Nope.
Taoism.
And that's right.
There's no should.
That's so good, right? Nope, there isn't. Yeah, it's this, that's so beautiful, Pam. And I think that's what studying world religions has done for me, is it's helped me understand Jesus' teachings so much better than I ever heard in a sermon. You know, it's because now I'm just getting it so deeply, and it's our personal journey with it, and realizing what are the universal truths versus what have humans put around that, dogma, doctrine, rules, control, guilt, shame. Yeah, that's not a part of any of this. And what's interesting to your comment on Native American spirituality is these oldest ones that are when people just had farming, harvest, the sky, light and dark, you know, that's the wisdom. And we've complicated it so much with all these structures and stuff we've put around it, and humanized it all. If we could just go back to that, yeah, the wisdom's there. Yeah.
Is the word spirit a part of Taoism?
Not that I know of.
It's not, is it?
I don't think I saw spirit anywhere. No. No.
Or soul?
Don't remember if I saw soul. I feel like maybe soul. But it's not coming to me. Maybe not.
What would be the equivalent in the Tao for that?
Inner being, inward. So yeah, that would be the inner language is definitely there. The like inner knowing, inner wisdom. I think that's what we would equate to the soul probably in our language. Yeah, that's interesting. I want to look into that deeper. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, anything else? What are you taking away? Just popcorn some stuff, and I'll repeat it. Yeah, Kate.
I think it kind of, oh, I'm loud. That's just going to be worse. I think that for me, a lot of my struggle with Christianity growing up was why we would create conflict in order to spread peace.
Yeah, good point.
And so I really struggled, and when people couldn't answer it and met me with more conflict, like how could you possibly, whatever, it made me question everything, which then made me an even worse person because I wasn't just agreeing. And so I like that it tells you that if there's that conflict, that it's not right anyway.
Beautiful. Gosh, that's a great point. That's a beautiful point.
It's undoing
Undoing the
the condition.
conditioning. Yep, that's right. Brooke, what were you going to say?
I think the yin and yang,
Yeah.
like I've seen it many times, but I didn't, and I knew it was about balance, but I loved the thought of just constantly thinking about, all right, if
Yeah.
I'm feeling this way,
Yeah,
this is what might be out of balance.
Yeah.
Just, it's almost just like a leaning
exactly.
instead of like some harsh change.
I like that, like leaning. That's so good. Yeah. Yeah, Kate?
It's like ease versus dis.
Yes. Ease versus dis-ease. Very good. Yes. Yeah.
I wonder if anybody's made a book called The Tao of Parenting.
Do it, Patty. The Tao of Parenting.
It feels like the same thing that we call centering in
Yes.
Christianity.
That's right. Centering prayer definitely is in line with this. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we can really see how we create our own suffering.
Yes. Perfect, Jennifer. I think that's a great takeaway. How we create our own suffering. We create our own complications. Yeah, exactly. And it's true. We so want somebody else to be responsible and blame and, be a victim. This would be a call to step into responsibility and accountability. It's really a call to accountability. There's a lot of kind of calling out leaders with bad behaviors. I was like, if I find it easily, I'll read it. If not, well, I turned right to it, so I think we're supposed to read it. A great nation is like a great man. When he makes a mistake, he realizes it. Having realized it, he admits it. Having admitted it, he corrects it. He considers those who point out his faults as his most benevolent teachers. He thinks of his enemy as the shadow that he himself casts. He thinks of his enemy as the shadow he himself casts. If a nation is centered in the Tao, if it nourishes its own people and doesn't meddle in the affairs of others, it will be a light to all nations in the world. Yeah.
Do we have one of those nations?
No, we do not have one of those nations. And I will say, as I read this stuff, it is very lofty. It is, there's a book on like business ownership with the Tao. And, yes, as much as I want to say, okay, yeah, that all works, there are still electric bills to pay, and there are still, so it's really interesting, and that's where I kind of landed with, it is a practice. I will try to come back to it as much as I can living in 2025. But it's not easy, right? There are realities that are hard. We do have leaders ruling millions of people and trying to herd the circus. And so I do want to give everyone grace that, it's hard. It's hard. But could we do it more ethically? Probably. Yeah, Desiree.
This has been on my mind the whole time, and then you're
Oh, let's get the mic. I know, sorry. I want to hear you.
Yeah, we just want it to be on the video.
Yeah,
Oh, great, on the video.
on the video.
Well, it was on my mind, and then you're sort of speaking to it, but I kept wondering, and maybe it's true of a lot of spiritualities or religions, things like that, but I kept wondering if you're thinking of like hierarchy of needs, and if someone is just in survival mode and just don't have their basic needs met, how might they practice some
Right.
of these things, right? Like,
Right.
because there was so much of letting go of so many things and not
Yes.
trying to force things, but
I know.
that's different.
I agree with you. I was thinking about that too as I was reading. Like, desperation makes up for a lot of our bad behaviors, right? Like, we're desperate. And so we cling to things and we fight for resources. And I think you're right, not to judge those that are making desperate survival decisions. It's part of the Tao Te Ching has that teaching on empty yourself of everything and you will gain everything. And it's with Buddha, Buddha emaciated himself, left the riches of his family because he saw the people starving, having more spiritual experiences than he did. And he wanted to experience that, so he emaciated himself and gave up everything. So it's interesting because there are like we have in Scripture, blessed are the poor. There are those kind of teachings in Taoism. The challenge is we live in a society where we're all still hoarding. And so if we would all live by it, we wouldn't have those people in desperation. But we got to go first. The privileged have to go first. And that's rarely comfortable. right? I have billions, but I want billions more. And so but you're speaking to that huge tension we live in humanity of how are we ever going to solve this problem? Who's going to go first to make a difference? Yeah. What? Oh, thanks. It's sticky, right? It's hard. Cheryl said that was very well said. Thank you. It's sticky, it's hard, it's not that easy, and that's why I think all of this stuff that we study and long for is a practice. We have to keep coming back to it. We're never going to master it, and we're never going to get it to stick 100% of the time, and I'm going to have bad days, and I'm going to mess up and go way away from the Tao and have to come way back into the Tao. And that's all gazillion of us on the planet have that same challenge. Yeah. Yeah.
You have a couple different versions?
Yes.
of Tao Te?
Yes, I do. You'll find lots of them.
Yeah, I was looking for.
So Stephen Mitchell, this one, he might have, I think it has a new cover.
What's the difference between him and the original author?
So this stone, see that stone in water? That's the new cover of Stephen Mitchell's book. Like every translation, like all the Bible translations, which there are like 1,500 of them, whoever translated it got to pick the words they used, right? And so that's why we have some Bibles that use words that other Bibles don't use. So you will find that with any spiritual text translation. Stephen Mitchell seems to be peer-reviewed, scholarly reviewed, one of the best translations, just like New Revised Standard Version in Christian scripture is one of the most truest translations we have that biblical scholars have validated matches the original language. So you kind of have to do your research, Google most accurate translation when you're looking for a spiritual source. But Steve, this one is good. It's interesting how many differences I noticed. This was like a Barnes & Noble, their version published. And so they made it pretty like a devotional book. But word choice does matter, but it's good to read multiples. Because I realized in some, multiples helped me. Like desires and needs, that kind of sat differently depending on which word they chose.
Well, and in this case, even with Stephen Mitchell,
Yeah.
would be sitting with it, and then the Tao, I think, would say, how does that speak to you?
Yes.
It's not necessarily
That's good.
verbatim.
Yes, not read it literally. Exactly. So well said for all scriptures. Yes. Yes.
So when did Lao to write the
Yes, about, it's loose. It's 500 to 300 BCE that we think he probably wrote the first book around 500, but then where did it go? This one boy had it, he recopied it. So we've got 200 years of the manuscript kind of floating around. So that's the timing, though. 2,500 years ago is a good kind of feel. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all so much. Go in peace, truly, right? Go with the Tao. And we will pick up with Jainism, which is another beautiful faith, in January. So have wonderful holidays. I hope this enriches your Christian experience this Christmas. And I'll see you guys January 7th. Thanks for coming.